Peace. What's good, YouTube? It's Kareem Samadi back again with another video. All right, so today we're going to touch on meditation, the importance of meditation, right? Meditation is extremely important, and I made a video on this in the past, actually. And the reason why I'm touching on it again is simply because I've seen in my personal experience and personal observations that people generally forget just how important meditation can really be, right? A spiritual practice. And meditation, it doesn't have to be you being what we see generally, what we consider meditation to be, which is sitting cross-legged, closing your eyes, getting in the moment, right? Meditation shows up in different ways, right? If you pray, that's a form of meditation. There's many different ways, and meditation is simply just you connecting with the subconscious mind. Every time you go to sleep at night, you are connecting with your subconscious mind. You're connecting with your higher self, because sleep is essentially you bring your brainwaves to theta state, and that's a form of meditation. Essentially, what you do in meditation is you still your mind and you slow down your brainwaves, and that's when you're able to relax. You're in a relaxed state. That relaxed state gives you the answers to your questions because your ego is not in the way. Your thinking mind's not in the way. You're more relaxed and you're more receptive to spiritual information. This is why we have dreams, right? The dreams are that spiritual information coming from the higher plane, manifesting into your mind. So I want to touch on meditation because, my personal observation is that we spend our entire day preoccupied, right? Because the yang energy is so high during the day, right? The masculine energy is so high during the day. It's all about doing what you need to do, getting your shit done. And after you get your shit done, it's time for leisure, right? And we are taught to do this from birth, right? And essentially we observe it from birth, depending on, if we're taking into account the average person, right? The average person is observing this cycle, right? Every day that we live is cyclical, right? Because our lives are generally boxed into the cycle of time. So this preoccupation consists of work, bills, commute, school, kids, relationships, everything we consider priorities, right? Everything outside of us. You go out and you get that done, and that takes up at least maybe 16 hours of your day, right? Or 8 hours of your day, depending on, what type of life you're living. 8 to 16 hours of your day is taken up preoccupied with things that are considered priorities, right? And for some people, these things don't serve them, right? And so we have to really take into account what's going on. So you spend either almost half your day or 25% of your day preoccupied with priorities. Now, this constant preoccupation, right? Let's take into account the average lifespan in the United States, which is around 70 years old, dropping, So 70 years old, you do this until you're 60. 60 is considered retirement age. This constant preoccupation leaves zero room for inner work, inner silence, because all of it is being relegated to the later parts of the day. So, and the leisure time is usually preoccupied depending on how many choose to spend their leisure, right? A lot of people will spend their leisure doing things that are just routine. So yes, unless you truly get like something out of, let's say what you do in your leisure, right? So somebody's watching TV, they could be watching it for consumption, or they could be watching it for education, right? Or ideas, to get more ideas, right? There's two ways to use TV, right? Productive or for consumption. There's two ways to use everything. This leisure time can sometimes be, depending on who you are, a person could be working on their side hustle. That's a productive thing to do in your leisure time. A person could be working out in their leisure time. That's productive, but it can also be counterproductive too, because it could still be considered routine, right? And so after you finish taking care of that, because that could be a priority for some people, that means you still have, different things to do in your leisure time. So how you choose how to spend your leisure time is very key, because if it's not spent properly, You have zero room for silence and for basically for processing anything that goes on, right? For really, reflecting within, harmonizing the energies within, right? So what this happens is we become used to distraction. We become used to preoccupation. We become used to constantly being busy, constantly doing something, right? Our nature becomes restless because it seems like our entire lives are restless. Gotta go to work. Why I gotta go to work? Gotta pay the bills. Why, I gotta pay the bills so I can feel comfortable. Everything is centered around your survival, right? And so when you're worried about your survival 80% of your day, that takes away from that connection within. It distracts you from even thinking of that a connection within, a higher connection, something that doesn't require so much hard work, right? It takes that away because simply because of the fact that you are so used to focusing on this physical world out here. But what's taking you away from that is the fact that when you focus too much on the physical world, you don't focus on the spiritual world. You don't focus on the inner world enough. And there needs to be a balance in the energies. If there's not a balance in the energies, we are prevented from connecting with ourselves. And distraction is the name of the game, right? There's so many different things that are made to distract you, but you can also turn them into things that, produce for you. But everything outside of us in general, right? If we don't have that connection within, everything actually becomes a distraction because we are here to reconnect with what's within. So you want to have that foundation. But if you don't have that foundation, you're always distracted because you can't heal from your biggest problems. This creates a lot of escapism because people escape into work. People escape into doing things outside of themselves all the time rather than turning within, and so this leaves zero room for learning how to surrender, learning how to handle emotional issues because we're constantly preoccupied. We're constantly distracted from these things. And we have to worry about being a functional human being most of our day, right? And so this is why a lot of people end up stressed out. This is why a lot of people end up restless. This is why a lot of people end up with mental issues and they want to relax in different ways other than sleep. So this is why people will turn to drugs. They will turn to many different things to try to find that way to relax themselves, to blow off steam, to relieve stress, right? Whereas you already naturally have a means of doing this. Your body forces you to do this by sleeping. Your body will force you to meditate by sleeping. Now, when you begin to close that gap using meditation, that's when you really begin to tap in with the spiritual energies, right? Because the daytime is mainly for the body. The daytime is mainly for the physical body, is mainly for the masculine energies. But I'm not saying that you can't bring the feminine, you can't bring the spiritual energies into the daytime, right? But on average, this is what it looks like. And the spirit becomes more active at nighttime. The physical becomes more subtle at nighttime, and the spiritual becomes more dominant, and vice versa for the daytime, right? Now, meditation will close this gap. Meditation will close this gap so that you are constantly physically and spiritually dominant at all times. But you can only get there using meditation. So when you're not meditating, or when you don't have a spiritual foundation with meditation, you can miss out on this connection, right? And for some people, they are supposed to miss out on this connection, right? This is essentially why some of these religions, they structure prayer, they structure chanting, they structure a lot of things into their practices because it's important to do these things. This is why Islam has the five daily prayers, and the 5 daily prayers, they're not just normal prayers. They're actually they're a certain ritual, right, that will take up a certain amount of time to bring you into that spiritual world, right? So when you do those things and you create that spiritual connection, right, that's when you can really begin to bring down that energy. So this is why certain religions will include chanting, they will include prayer as a part of something that goes on in the daily process, because without it, there won't be a spiritual connection, right? There would be too much physical focus. So we have to really understand what's going on with this. And when it comes to the dreams are primarily where the spiritual world is largest for a lot of people, because like I said, there's so much focus on the physical world throughout the day. People won't make time for meditation. They might not feel like there's time, and so, but there's literally always time. You can always find time, right? And then when people do find time, they might think that they're not doing it right. There's no right way to do it. All that's required of you is to get comfortable, relax, and close your eyes. And you don't have to try to do anything. You just have to surrender, let go. Close your eyes and let go. Doesn't matter how you sit. Doesn't matter if you lay down, right? Just do it, essentially, with meditation. Meditation is not like what goes on in the physical world. It's not like what goes on a daily process where we have to worry about doing things right, where there's a certain procedure. Meditation, the only procedure is your relaxation. So whatever does that for you is what does that for you, essentially. And so meditation is also a primary means of decalcifying the pineal gland, along with a lot of other spiritual work. But meditation is what gets you foot in the door when it comes to the rest of the spiritual work, right? As meditation exercises the pineal gland, it's a form of using the pineal gland, right? When you don't use a muscle enough, it atrophies. And so melanated pineal glands are atrophied due to the constant lack of use, right? Melanated pineal glands, essentially, they shut down after around puberty for most people. For most melanated people, it will shut down. And it shuts down because people forget how to use these things as they grow up, right? And it's taught that a lot of spiritual practices are taught to be, immature growing up. So that's why the pineal gland will atrophy or it will calcify. So you can decalcify it. The easiest way to decalcify it, the fastest way to decalcify it is by using it. It's like exercising a muscle. That's how you can bring that light, right? You can't get large biceps by doing nothing, right? Essentially how your pineal gland cannot decalcify itself without you exercising it. So this is why meditation is the way to get your foot in the door, with unlocking that third eye, unlocking the rest of the chakras within your body too. You're right. I would never give out spiritual information without telling people to meditate and exercise on it, because essentially, if you don't find a way to apply it spiritually, it's useless to you. You can't activate anything spiritually if you have no means of bringing that in through your own filter, through your own spiritual filter, right? And so meditation is something it is something that will bring that to you. Prayer is something that will bring that to you. Really depends on what works for you. What's your form of meditation? What opens up your subconscious mind, right? That's essentially how you're going to be able to tap in. So, and there's many different ways to meditate, right? And so this is exactly what going within really means, right? Meditation is going to be how you get your answers from the spirit world, how you get your answers from your higher self, how you get your answers from God, right? As you begin to connect with and trust yourself more, right? Meditation is a way to do that. It's a way to connect with yourself. It's a way to trust yourself again, a way to trust your higher self, a way to trust God, right? That's what meditation does. It's a foundation and it's a discipline, right? And, we spend all of our day distracted, moving, and worrying about what comes next. But meditation just brings you into the now and keeps you still. Stillness is how you balance out that energy. Stillness is how you learn how to properly surrender and to work spiritually, right? That's the issue, is that we're so focused on intellect. We're so focused on preoccupation. We cannot sit still because we're not in our right minds. Meditation will get you back in your right mind. That's why it's so important, right? Meditation unlocks different parts of you. And so this is why it seems like when people do begin to meditate, it seems like it gets scary, because they're reawakening those spiritual pathways that closed around the age of puberty, right? They're reawakening those things where it seemed like there was monsters in the closet. It seemed like there was always somebody watching, right? Hearing things, seeing things at night. They're reawakening that, because the thing is, when, spiritual phenomenon happens, the more that you begin to focus on it, right? And there's spiritual phenomenon that's always constantly happening throughout the day, right? But when you meditate, especially in the dark, right, the spiritual phenomenon comes to the forefront, and it's meant to serve you. It's not meant to hurt you. So that's essentially what meditation is going to do for you, right? This is why it seems like things are always happening. Something's always around you when you start meditating. And I experienced this when I first started meditating too. When I first started opening all that stuff up, it was alarming and it was kind of scary at first, right? But essentially, you have to ease yourself into it and you have to become comfortable with this because, it's going to seem like it's dark. It's going to seem like something evil is happening when reality, it's actually your own fears playing out. And so once you begin to let go of that fear, that's when you can really begin to open up and see the light frequencies that you're pulling into yourself, that you're pulling into your being. So meditation will open you up to that, will open up to you to those parts of yourself that will transform and that will empower you, right? But a lot of times we're scared of our own power, or we don't even recognize our own power. And so for people, human beings, right, are scared of things that they don't see that reminds them of being a human being. So a lot of human beings some human beings are scared of dogs, bears, things that, like, you know what I mean? So when it comes to spiritual phenomenon, they become terrified, right? And they hop back into, religious programming, it's demons, it's this, it's that. And that'll take them very, very far away from their spiritual power. But when they face themselves, they face what they've been holding within, all that distraction, all that preoccupation, and that ignorance of that part of themselves, right? Then they can turn that fear into a power. You can only turn fear into a power when you recognize that your power to submit, your power to surrender, and really let go of those fears, right? And use the courage to push through, use the courage to bring that light in you, right? That's when your fear can really turn to a power for you. So that's the importance of meditation in a nutshell. And I can go on and on about it, but I just want to say, like, a lot of people, they want to do spiritual things. They want spiritual things to happen to them. They want all these great things to happen to them. And personally, that's really just the ego. And in all honesty, that's all the ego, right? Especially, with the way that, spiritual phenomena is presented in, TV shows and movies. That's all the ego. When people say, oh, I want this to happen to me, I want that. So Raven moments, it's all the ego, right? It's okay to, want and experience those things. But if that's your goal, right, rather than healing, rather than transformation, rather than, just elevation in general, spiritual ascension, rather than, mundane human thought, mundane human wants, desires, needs, right? You're going to close off yourself from that thing, from all those things, right? A lot of people, they just want to get into spiritual things because, oh, maybe I can make money this way. Maybe I can feel better about myself this way, right? When in reality, meditation is meant for you to focus and feel better about yourself without the need for money, without the need for outside things, without the need for validation, without the need for anything in this physical matrix, right? Meditation focuses on your inner world. And it shows you that you already have it all within. It was showing you that you had it all within in your dreams anyway. That's why you have dreams and everything is going well for you. You're in a whole universe of your mind's creation. And in the physical world, you're in a whole universe of your mind's creation too. It's just your mind's created something fucked up for you on average. And that's why you are living in suffering, because you haven't harmonized that mind and body connection. And so the spirit feels lost in the physical world. But in reality, when you turn within, you focus on that inner world, everything outside of you will align, right? And because we have to take into account the law of Tahuti, the mind is all, and law of correspondence, right? So law of correspondence, as within, so without. So as you focus on your inner world, you connect with your inner world and you heal your inner world, you heal yourself from within, the outer world will reflect that. You connect with those parts of yourself that are prosperous, abundant, and wealthy within, the outer world will affect that. The joy within, the love within. You connect with that first, the outer world will reflect that, will mirror that back to you, because the outer world is your inner world, right? Your inner world is just in chaos because you haven't made that connection, you have ignored it, or you have been too distracted to know and to realize and to bring it back into your control. Meditation will bring it back into your control. Prayer will bring it back into your control, right? It just all depends on when you decide to do it, right? When you decide to get over that fear factor, right? When you actually decide to do it, All those things will be waiting for you. So, and you know, spirituality is all about doing the work, right? But I see a lot of talk, but not a lot of people doing the work. So that's essentially the video. You got to do the work, and you got to go within. The inner work is how you're going to really bring forth it. Because once you do the inner work, you're not going to have a need to be finding spiritual information on YouTube, right? The inner guidance will bring you where you need to go. So that's the video. I wish you all luck in your journey, and peace.